Yo, let's wait for this live to fill up. If you're watching this after this has gone live, then maybe scroll through a minute or so. And I'm just going to dive into really the reality of why I use liberation, the remedy in specific. And it is the only real tool that I promote, I wouldn't say promote, but share on the scene right now, and really why I feel it's the replacement to the entirety of the majority of tools on the New Age circuit right now. And maybe particularly because it's in its completely own category, and how I feel we're kind of moving into a completely new paradigm of experiences. So if you are in here in live, say hello. Be nice to see who is here and what's popping. But I'm just going to dive right into it, really, into the topic of this tool. So we'll wait 30 seconds or so. See who's coming on. Hey, Lynn. If those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, liberation, the remedy. And yeah, I mean, I'll just jump in. Where to start? It's been over a year now that I've been using this tool. And as I explained to many people, really it was through a picture that the energies already started working on me. And for most of them, it may be hard to comprehend, though, when you start to get more in tune with the energies and how your energies flow and how you are attuned to the subtleties of various energies in the body. Naturally, you'll find that how you interact with pictures, for instance, pictures and just overall energy encryptions, what I call, which is just tuning into the thought of someone, a thought of a remedy, thought of something in particular, and pulling the energy encryption or pulling the energy influence of that specific thing, that can very quickly be affected and experienced in the body, even if it's not physically present. Hey Ryan, good to see you, man, or be with you. And so when it came to liberation, this is really the reality of what occurred. Is when I saw the picture, the energy started working. And then after I got the bottle and went through over this year and a half, almost, about over 18 bottles, with it still doing profound and consistent amounts of work in the energy body, in the emotional clearing, and how we've been using it in ceremony here, which has been using it in water. So we're putting, about 7 drops or so in water, and then drinking the water. And we actually did one on Saturday where, while drinking the water, we sent the water through all of the channels of the body. So that's the blood, that's the nervous system, that's the lymphatic, that's the meridian system, the chakra system, through the breath, the water system, everything, and helping it move through those channels. And the potency and power that we experienced with that was quite profound. And so, typical ceremonies that are done with psychedelics, for instance, or plant medicines, I've done many of them, about 300 or so of those ceremonies, that had a certain effect. But what I've noticed with the usefulness of a vibrational remedy is the karmic exchange, or the sacrifice that needs to occur when you take the remedy, is far less, specifically in comparison to psychedelics or any other harder supplement, let's say a nootropic, or maybe something more extreme, like some bodybuilding NO Extreme, which is like a pre-workout supplement to give you energy, or maybe even caffeine, for instance. All of these tools in the core of it are tools in which require a certain level of sacrifice, generally of energy and vitality of the body. And that sacrifice will result in just a bit of a whiplash effect. It's like you get the epiphanies and experiences of the heightened peaks and the opening into certain perspectives, but then naturally you will be brought back down in a certain sense, and that will come by way of a rebalancing of the brain chemistry, a rebalancing of the physical body, overall energy and vitality. So that's what I noticed when it came to a lot of use of psychedelics. Now, when we're using liberation, this vibrational remedy, it's different. Firstly, for those who do any sort of calibration using level of consciousness system, specifically Ramaji's system, we're calibrating this remedy generally around the 600 to 700s, if not more. Some have calibrated a lot more, but what that means is that it's resting in a non-dual energy. So the importance of recognizing this is how I've communicated often before. Hey Calvin, good to see you, man. What I've communicated before about, using liberation in similar respect to how you would have a relationship with a teacher. When you have a certain devotion to a teacher who abides in a certain energy, all you're doing is you're opening up for the energy of that transmission to occur through that teacher to infuse a certain power of speed in your own transformation. This is not becoming dependent on the teacher, but by way of, basically, devotion is belief. So by way of believing more in something, you're going to attain or receive the highest capacity that thing may have. So a way to look at this, an example is like, if I have the utmost devotion for this tool, this liberation, the capacity it has to transform, I will receive the utmost potential of it because I am in such belief that it can occur. Likewise, if I had all of that belief in this fake candle, the reality is I could still experience a certain level of love and gratitude and appreciation that could reveal a certain sense of God or source in some level. And there's a nice white feather on there hanging. There you go. So that's a good sign. Maybe this is my guru. But what I'm getting at is that the level of capacity of transformation that this has in the relation of how we're working with these tools may not be as potent. Now, in the same sense, all is source and all is God. So yes, there is a power of this being able to transform and my love to it, because it's really about, what I'm getting at here is it's really about what we're giving versus about what we're receiving. And so when we have a tool that's abiding in a non-dual energy, what we're able to bring to that and give to that is going to, in reflection, give us the opportunity to experience the depth of that non-dual energy. And so that's the potency and power of a tool like liberation. The other benefit of that is that you're not going to become dependent on that specific thing, because just like with a real teacher, if you're ever with, or in the guidance of a real teacher, the teacher will point away from himself and more to the techniques or practices. And this is why it's a constant theme, that anytime you come across a real teacher, it's all about the practice. It's all about continuing to go back to your practice and not getting direct answers from the teacher as to exactly what you need to do, but rather, how do you practice so that what is revealed is what you need to do? And in the same sense of what a tool like liberation, that dependency is generally non-existent. There wasn't really a time in all of the 18 bottles that I've used so far where I felt like I needed the remedy, like I absolutely needed to take it. There was times in which I felt like it could support the state I was in, but certainly not a dependency, and that's the difference. And that is the difference specifically that I had when it came to psychedelic work, where I was heavily dependent and felt I needed the psychedelics, or needed the next experience, or needed the next ceremony to bring me to some new level. But that was a never-ending chase that I wasn't able to come to find a satisfaction with until I dissolved that attachment and released from it. So again, with the liberation tool, it's a reversal in how we're approaching the remedy. And the funny part is, those who are resting in more of an authentic place of actually desiring truth rather than to be saved by some tool. Right? To be saved by some psychedelic, to be saved by some teacher, to be saved by some next retreat or whatever. Instead, there's a devotion that there's actually a desire for truth. And in my experience working with students or friends, spiritual friends, is to the degree in which there is a desire for truth is the degree in which there will be humility on the path. And that humility is the opportunity to actually want to hear what is really needed rather than just what you want to hear or just what's going to make you feel more comfortable and find relief from your pain. This is the difference. Now, there's a usefulness to that because that can provide a foundation. But at a certain point, there is a requirement for the desire to know truth and to ascend on the spiritual path by receiving that truth that may not always be the most comfortable thing. And generally is going to be a quite humbling thing. And liberation, I found, has done that in copious amounts in my own journey of revealing the emotions that are present even when I thought I had arrived at something, and really opening me up to deeper levels of authenticity and emotional honesty with what was really still being held in the body. And this also happens through relationship with a very profound teacher or mentor or specific technique. So this is an important thing. Yes, Thomas, I can imagine. Anyone who uses psychedelics, that's going to resonate. So what I'm pointing to here is the power of this tool, liberation. If you haven't used this, send me a message, comment here, and I can definitely get you more info. I view it as really the next echelon of what typical ayahuasca and these things were many years ago, where everyone was kind of iffy about it. They weren't so sure, and then it kind of hit the mainstream, and then everyone was all up on it. The difference with this remedy is that you're not going to be facing as much potential interference, simply because there's no one that needs to facilitate liberation being given. You don't need anyone to give you liberation. You can take it on your own, and it has a certain protective essence that it's kind of like a inferno for influence or entities or negative energies that would want to get involved, similar to what has occurred in the psychedelic realm, where for the most part many of those plants are compromised at this point, and or there is such infestation with other energies and entities that it is just it's so much more dangerous to take it than it is to do the work with things that are more subtle, like a tool, like a vibrational essence, like your breath, simply your consciousness alone, or being exposed to certain higher level Templar-based teachings that are available on the planet today, specifically Kalonic science, for instance, or other specific transmissions that are aligned with the law of one. Law of one being a specific cosmic teaching that is the underlying current to all of the core modern teachings today, but because it's not resting on the history of where the modern planet is at this time, we're not risking the amount of distortion and influence that generally has been prevalent on the planet with the majority of teachings and the majority of teachers who hold a lineage within those teachings. This is something that took me a while to really understand, having walked the path of many traditional teachings, walked the path of being at the feet of many, and specifically some very high level and well-known gurus and masters, whether they're living or non-living. So I learned that in different ways. So any of the things that I'm mentioning here, if you have more questions, just put it here. I can answer them now, or you can send me a message and I can get you that info. But I'm really making this video specific for liberation simply because of the power I've seen it consistently deliver on people who are using it, including my own experience in my own life. And even after, me being and practicing many advanced teachings or receiving specific transmissions that, in my view, are cream of the crop right now when it comes to spiritual energies. So that's, the gist of it. Thomas, I can send you info for sure. And so, it'll just a matter of time, I feel, before many more people experience this remedy. I've been closely integrated with the core team and helping them really, bring this to a new level. And another remedy on the way, which is redemption, which is, taking things to a far new level of transformation. And then a third remedy, which will come out, in a year or so, which, is probably going to blow the lid on a lot of people's idea of what they view to be possible in this dimension, in this realm. So if there is any other questions related to this or any other topic really that's present, it'd be cool. I have some time now that I can dive into, this discussion. Thomas, I know you did just comment on my newest status on my healing journey of the spine. I did do a specific energy healing. It's an energy healing, emotional healing. It's more of like a surgery. It's a specific method that I've taught for many years, and now I've more so really wrapped it together in a more presentable way that I feel like is ready now for other people to really use on a more broader basis, and specifically for facilitators to learn this method as a really a very uninterfering emotional massage type of technique that doesn't use old energies like Reiki or pranic healing or even other things like NLP and these things. I feel like moving away from that is a time we're in right now with this method. It's a far more direct method, far more rapid method that I found, especially in my journey of using a lot of these systems. So I'll link that in here once this video is done. What is it? Hey Jay Ananda, it's good to see you here. What is it? It's elixir. It's a vibrational remedy. It's kind of hard to describe simply because there's nothing to compare it to other than old alchemical formulas that were generally locked away in the Tibetan, some of the Tibetan sections, or in some of the old Chinese kung fu schools. There were some very high-level advanced systems of alchemy that used similar types of remedies. It's a vibrational essence that brings together a few different core ingredients. First of which is Navaratna, which is the 9 core gems of Hinduism. They're burned 100 times into like a powder, and then those powders are infused into the original alchemical formula. Shilajit, which is a crystal we all know to help with electromagnetic fields, that is infused into the energy. The Kunjika mantra, which is a Buddhist purifying fire mantra, that is infused into, that was chanted I think about 5,000 times into the original remedy, and then that's carried through all the remedies from there. Then there is a reishi mushrooms in there, royal jelly, protea plant, the vibrational essence of protea plant, and missing one. Oh yeah, Panch Agni. Panch Agni is the ashes from some of the fires that have been burning in some of the monasteries in Tibet, in those regions. And those ashes are taken and infused into, again, the energy of the original remedy, all of which is binded using vodka, and we bind it like a homeopathic remedy, so it stays good pretty much forever. And yeah, so it's quite profound. It's going to light up your dreams generally. That's usually what it does initially, depending when you're taking it, and then starts to release the emotional buildup on the cell level, starts to break down the karmic energy in the fields, helps you complete memories and cycles of emotional experiences that have not been completed yet. This is an array of things that it has the potential to do, depending on where you're at and your level and your experience and all of that. Yes, a true elixir, for sure. I haven't seen anything like it, and I've looked at a lot, and I've seen a lot, and a lot of people are into the different golds, like monoatomic gold and these types of things, but if it's done improperly, it can be very damaging to the body, and I've noticed that with a number of core people making and distributing these types of remedies. And then I've compared it to psychedelics. It can't really be compared to it. I just use that because that's like a reference point for a lot of people. But it certainly doesn't come with the whiplash of those experiences or the potential detriment of those experiences. So yeah, I feel like that wraps up a good amount of it. Yeah, definitely a powerful remedy. I've used quite a lot, still doing its work. And I've been doing the work for quite some time. So yeah, so I'll leave it there. If there's any other questions, I can dive in with y'all. But it's good to stay connected here. I will link the healing technique as well, which all of you can check out. All right, I think I'm going to end it there. Deep love to all of you. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And send me a message if you want to connect or any other questions that are here. But yeah, deep love. Peace.